Good evening and welcome everybody to the regular Gilbert Council meeting of April 22nd, Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025, 6:01 p.m. Call the meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilor Bertosnik.
Present.
Councilor Horn.
Present.
Mayor Oberstar.
Here.
Councilor Skirvik.
Here.
Councilor Conley.
Here. We have a quorum, we can have a meeting. All right, would everybody here rise and help me open with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I believe we have a couple of additions to the agenda tonight. And that would be Carrie and Steve Schutte fence application approval. And Calguero tree cutting quote for the cemetery,
That'll be item F.
item F.
Then you also asked me to, under the clerk administrator report, to make a notation about doing a lobby letter to our legislators.
Yeah, drafting up a letter to the legislatures in favor of our urgent hope that they're in favor of our concern funding our water plant. Additional funding for the water plant. And we're okaying our clerk to draft that letter and look at it in a poll and then
Sure.
send it before they adjourn, okay?
Excellent.
And that's gonna be under what, G then?
It'll be under.
Under your business? Huh?
I, under clerk
Okay,
administrator.
all right. Anything else? Nothing, right? Somebody want to move to add those to the agenda?
I'll move to approve the additions to the agenda.
I'll second.
Moved by Councilor Vertochnik, supported by Councilor Skirvik to approve those items to the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Our consent agenda, we have items on there. I want to talk about the regular meeting of April 9th. Clerk, Mike, we have a typo between, I don't know if it's the gentleman who came up at public input was Mr. Pullman or Mr. Folman. In the minutes, we have one Folman, and I think in the minutes of the working session, we have a different spelling, Pullman.
Okay, Dale Coleman.
Pullman or Folman, I don't know, we have to correct which one to correct there.
I'll make sure it's corrected.
Yeah,
I'll have to look back.
yeah. Look back at his,
I'll talk to Mary in the morning.
at his letter request to us. He's got his name, and the 2 minutes of the working session and the regular meeting have different spelling of his name. Pullman or Folman. All right? With that correction, that's all I have.
I've got one question on the minutes from the April 9th working session. Under number 6, Steve Stringer question, it says that it's not legally able to happen in the M1 zone. That was referring to the building, but we did have a discussion about if we were going to go forward with a hearing for rezoning. And
Correct.
He has just made application to do that. He didn't make this packet.
Okay.
But we'll start working on that, Paul.
so I would, if we can just make that correction that,
Well,
that we
there's-
had discussed a hearing
It's
for
not,
rezoning.
I don't believe that's a correction. We're really waiting to see what he wanted to do. In its current state, that statement is correct.
Okay.
If you want me to change
That
it-
wasn't what I understood our
Yeah,
conversation to be.
I will change the language, Paul, not a problem at all.
I'm okay with doing what Paul wants there. It's okay. Everybody else okay? Correcting that language on that discussion? So it's recorded correctly what was going on?
Yep.
So you have, it says
I'll reach out to Steve for options. Would you like to say, clarify
Just
what
say
you would like to
that we
say?
had discussed a potential hearing for rezoning as one of those
Okay.
options.
Yeah, that seems inclusive, but I'll add that.
Any more corrections or additions on the consent agenda? Okay, library board meeting, there was no recommendations there, I don't believe. No. Somebody want to move on that consent agenda with the corrections?
I'll move to adopt the consent agenda with the corrections noted.
I'll second that.
Moved by Counselor Skirvik, supported by Counselor Horn to approve the consent agenda with the corrections noted. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Okay, public input. Anybody in the audience tonight have anything they wish to discuss with the council other than what's on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll move on. Reports by mayor and council. Councilors, Counselor Ponton, you have anything?
I don't have anything tonight, no.
Counselor Skirvik?
Two things. One, I'm gonna be putting out a request to citizens to sign up to help with the flower planting. So just, that'll be out this week so that people have, I've got a good list from previous years as well, so. The other one is I took a walk today around the recycling center and, man, that is just a mess behind there. There is so much garbage in the woods. And it's to the point where I think I don't know if we can see if people in the community will volunteer for a pickup day, or I kind of hate to say, I don't really want to see city workers going out there and picking up garbage, but somebody's got to do it, and it's a mess. It's really awful.
So what happens there when the containers are full and there's no more room, the people leave it down on the ground and then the wind takes it everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's how it gets to be everywhere. And then I don't know how the back fence how it gets by the back fence, I don't understand
Snow
that.
plowing, you
Yeah.
knock it over with the snow plowing.
Well, the snow plowing, putting the containers back there.
Yeah,
What
or
what
the
we really
truck,
need to
yeah.
do is,
Go too far, yeah.
we need to see if we can get some of those big concrete barricades and put along the backside, and then put the fence up behind it, so that the canisters don't pull the fence down.
That and probably one more thing is be asking for additional container. I mean, you go there Monday morning before they come, all weekend long, there's no room no more. So,
Will the county give us an extra container? Or,
If
I'm putting on the list there.
I believe they will. I've talked to them, I've gone over there and talked to those people about their containers. And we were adding, we get, the cardboard was added. And, I told them, if we need, I believe they would give us another one, but we'd have to make room for it.
we'd have to
You'd have to
lengthen.
widen it, yes. And that's another thing, somebody told me, he said, well, why don't you, because it's an eyesore, everybody seems to complain that it's an eyesore. And those unused parking lot, the upper one over Delta Dental, if you wanted to tuck it into that corner, and then you could just maybe put up some posts and put up some high fencing, that mesh fencing to collect any wind that would keep it contained in the area. That's just a thought. I don't know if we own that for sure, if we can do anything with that, like with the recycle there, but it was just somebody threw that out there, and I thought, well, possible, tuck it into the far corner up there, more towards the cemetery, and maybe that would be a good place to get it out of sight, out of mind, kind of.
I'm open to looking at that.
Since in the last year, the discussion was to possibly move it to the corner lot where that big hill of dirt is. Sam was gonna flatten that out. Don't know if that'll work or not. Another discussion was to move it from where it's at to the other side of the telephone pole to have a wider area. So it's definitely an issue, you know, just, you guys should take a look and see what ideas you have and consider the one or two options and kind of go from there, because it is a mess.
Well,
Doesn't like that parking lot idea though, in the winter, it
Yeah,
being
I
on
mean-
asphalt versus
right.
dug into the ground.
You never have to worry about the mud in the spring or anything.
well, 3 years ago, discussion was to put it right below the ICO on the city property there, right across the alley, right below the ICO there.
Yeah, but that's just gonna be a mess like it is now, and then it'll be all over the houses that live near there. They'll have stuff blowing into their yards. I don't know. It's-
Well, let's look at it a little bit further. Let's visit some more spots in our head for this thing,
Yeah,
okay?
so-
If I were able to get community volunteers to go out and pick up garbage, would the city take the garbage and not have to charge? That's the other part is too, like if we collect garbage, it's gotta go somewhere. Would the city pay to get rid of the garbage if we got a team of a dozen people down there to pick it up?
Is there that much? We're just gonna
Yeah.
put it in a couple of orange
No,
bags?
we're cleaning the side of a highway full of garbage. It is all over, it is in the woods, it is awful.
Is it heavy stuff?
No, it's
No,
plastic
it's
bottles,
just
it's
the-
plastic
yeah,
cans,
right.
pieces of paper.
Paper, yeah.
And you gotta bend over and pick it up, and it's in the grass, and it's all over the
I
place.
suggest we get for a week only, at that time, a black bin down there, garbage bin, so you can put it in
And
there.
I'm pretty sure we'd
And
fill it.
not leave it there, but
Yeah.
as soon as it's full, remove it, you know?
Right.
Cause it just, you walk past there, and you take 2-3 steps behind the fence, and you can see it. It's a football field full of
I
garbage.
hear it's just, like I say, it's a leftover that's not able to be fit in the thing, and then it blows away, and it blows over the fence or whatever, or across the fence. It just, it wasn't thrown there on purpose.
No, no,
Yeah.
and I'm not putting blame on it, but now we have a problem that we have to deal with. and-
Right. I
and-
would say, go for it, Paul, and then we'll get the black bin down there for you to fill it up, and let's get it done.
And then, you know, as far as seeking additional containers, you really need to determine whether that's a paper, cardboard,
Yeah,
Yeah.
can.
I think the cardboard fills up and then everyone defaults to shoving it in whatever bin has space.
Really?
And then those bins get full.
And then, of
Plastic,
course,
too.
Yeah. then
Because
they
the
don't-
problem is, so
yeah.
Bowabic doesn't have corrugated cardboard. So we get a lot of residents from Bowabic and Aurora coming over here, because Aurora got rid of theirs. Because the county, there's not enough cans to go around. The county has a shortage, because they're starting to rust out and they don't want to replace them. So Bowabic can't get a corrugated cardboard bin, nor can they get other stuff, so everyone comes to Gilbert. And unfortunately, we get the brunt of it because we have 4 cans. So,
That's-
And then they don't crush the boxes, so
Yeah.
they're whole and it takes up more space. and-
Paul, if you set up a date, I'll volunteer to come out and pick trash.
yeah. We
Did
could-
you walk farther down towards the EO building and see that pipe that's in the ditch?
I didn't, but I'll go walk, take a look at that too.
Yeah, we don't know what it
So,
is.
But
It's a sewer
I think,
pipe or
I think that can be an easy thing, we can put out a plea
Yeah.
to people in the community, set a date and say, hey, we're just gonna take an afternoon and we're gonna clean.
Yeah.
We need help here.
And at that same time, there's some light poles there that should be moved.
Well, yeah.
And if we're keeping them or if we're junking them, well, let's determine what we're gonna do with them.
Are those old ones?
They
No, those
look-
are new.
Those
Yeah.
are new?
They were going to use them in the alleys if they had one that was broken or something. They were gonna replace it with one of those type of poles.
It looks like the poles that are around that Delta parking lot. I was looking the other day. It
No,
looks
tho-
like it's,
It's the
Those
same
are
poles,
the,
it's the same poles that are in my cul-de-sac also.
yeah.
Those brand new poles, but they're not LEDs though either, so.
I thought they
Well,
were
they shouldn't be there for sure.
No, no.
They should be on
They
the
should be
rack.
somewhere, but they shouldn't be there.
They should be stored somewhere where if you're gonna use them, you can use them, not, you know,
Yeah.
like next to the garage there down, you know, put a rack there
Yeah.
and put them on a rack or whatever if you're gonna use them at some point.
Can we talk to Sam about what it would take to, I mean, he's gonna have to put it on his schedule, but they shouldn't be there.
No, they shouldn't be there.
We should find a place for him that, you know,
Right.
maybe it's behind the rock house or I don't know
Yeah.
where.
Right.
anything else, Paul? Well, when you figure out a date, you can put it on the electronic board down there and ask
Yeah.
for citizens' citizens help, you know what I mean? When you figure out a date and time and whatever. That's it? Paul?
Yep.
Okay, Counselor Vrtajnik,
Nothing at this time.
Counselor Horn.
Nothing at this time.
I'm okay, we did a lot of it during the working session, and I talked about our last meeting, so I'm good to go. And we go down to 6, reports by staff and board. We have a Chief of Police Thai teacher here tonight. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Just to make note, the city crew has pretty much successfully swept up the main street and the side streets, so we're no longer enforcing calendar parking. So we'll let that go. In reference to the problems at the recycle center, we have made a few traffic stops, or I shouldn't say traffic stops, but made some stops on people. The officers have been directed if they run by and they run a license plate and it comes back to somebody not within the city limits of Gilbert, we usually tell them, hey, it's for Gilbert residents only. We don't have very good signage down there, so we really don't have any ability to do any enforcement. We did receive money, I still have not spent all that money yet we received that $72,000 from the state for law enforcement and fire. I believe fire spent their half. We've spent, I believe it was 16 or 18,000 of the money. We still have about $14,000 left there. I would like to use it to pay off, I believe that we still are leasing the tasers, which will be just a few $1,000s, but there's some money there. If the council wanted to, we could put a bullet camera up there at the recycle center. And if we can pass an ordinance, that would give us some enforcement action. And if somebody from, not from Gilbert, dumps there, then we would have some enforcement action, writing a citation or whatever else. And I think that if we wrote a half dozen tickets to people from outside of Gilbert, the word would probably travel fairly fast.
I don't think we have the power to do that.
Because it's
They're
a county
county.
recycling.
Anybody
Can't
can
anyone
use them. You
Okay.
can't restrict anybody from using.
But my understanding is Gilbert does pay for those.
No,
They do
it's
not.
county,
No,
that's
no.
all
Okay.
county, yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, so I mean, if you want to clean it up, if we see people doing dumping, throwing stuff around, we can use it for that too, but keep in mind, if we do put a camera up there, it'll be about $44 a month to have that
But you
camera
could
there.
get them for littering, if you saw
Yes,
somebody
yep.
actually with a
Yeah,
camera.
yeah, yep.
Then you could get them for littering, but yeah.
Yep, for sure. So that's one option. I wasn't aware of the cardboard, though, I believe. Do we pay for the cardboard recycling?
Yeah, it's all county.
It's all county covered?
It's all
Okay.
county.
But if we would've had a black dumpster for garbage and somebody was coming in Gilbert to put
Yep.
their
No, for sure.
garbage, that's a different
Okay,
story.
I always understand, we still paid some money
You
towards
got
that.
two different things,
Correct. Okay.
separate these two,
But,
okay?
so that's an option too, and we can, if we see stuff going on, we can go back, and the nice thing is you can go back time-wise, you can see when the stuff was dumped and who was there when it happened, so, that's an option also, so, just put it out there, so.
But if you have a commercial dumpster, you see somebody from somewhere
sure,
else,
yep.
That's a different story,
Yep.
you know?
Yep,
That's
I
state of
did not
Gilbert.
realize the county pays 100% of it. I thought
That's
they paid a percentage.
recycling,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
Anyhow, that's it? Any questions for Ty, with council?
I'd just like to thank Ty for the report. He put in a lot of time to do that report, and it took a lot of time, I'm sure.
Well, and honestly,
Exactly.
I think I did it back in 2017, and like I said, it kind of refreshes my numbers up, because those numbers were different from 2017 a little bit, so it was nice to kind of learn about stuff again, because there were some changes, so.
Just a question, kind of related to that report, and thank you for bringing it up. Am I making this up, or did I see at one point, I think it was the county had a link you could go to and actually see where police calls went and came from? It's generated off of, the data that you put in.
Yep, only a certain percentage of it, it's basically, it's crime-related stuff, which
Okay.
in most cities, you're looking at 10 to 15% of the calls are actually crime-related. Duluth might be a little bit higher, but it does not record every call for service, but it will show the crime stuff. Assaults, burglaries, auto thefts, homicides, stuff like that.
Could you send us that link?
Yep.
Just for information, I'm just
Yep.
kind of curious to see where we rate in comparison to other cities.
Yep.
Okay. Clerk Administrator, Mike?
All I have is the item that we added here, and and that would be for the council to make a motion to authorize me to do a lobbying letter to raise the WIF ceiling to our legislators. Paul will work on that with me, so I need a motion to move forward with that.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I will make that motion.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Skirvik, supported by Counselor Horn to allow this letter to be written and sent, maybe after a quick draft review, and that'd be it, okay? Because we'll probably have to have it before the next 2 weeks done, okay?
Yep.
Either May or late in May, or 2 weeks in May, we gotta get this done quicker than that.
Yeah, I do want everyone to know, though, we have reached out to our legislators. This is when they look for capital projects and things like this. A couple months back, this was on our radar, and we talked to them about it at both the federal and state level. But I wouldn't hold my breath on the federal level right now, so,
And I personally talked to both
yeah.
Farnsworth and Warwas about
But the
this project,
squeaky wheel and all that, so we'll write a letter. Very good.
Okay, any more discussion?
What's this about the Iron Range Half Marathon under your name?
That's, shouldn't be taken.
Well, I gotta,
That was the last mission.
Occasionally we miss a piece.
I gotta have, I gotta get this vote on this one. We got a motion by Counselor Skirvik, supported by Counselor Horn to, for the letter. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Okay, now what do you need to ask Mike about?
Oh, we're good.
Okay.
Solved.
Anything else, Mike?
That's it for me.
Any questions, anything else from the council? Old business, nothing? Okay, new business, item item A, Mike, DNR Ridge Properties Appraisal, $82,800.
My understanding is that we bought the Ridge property, we sold the Ridge property, we bought the Ridge property back. We own some additional property up there. The DNR was going to buy the property that we purchased, and we had like 22 acres there. But their proposal seems to be inclusive of the larger area of both parcels of land. The other parcel that the city had and this, I've reached out to the DNR and talked to them about it. So given that the parcel numbers, they have two different ones than the one that we had on the original purchase agreement, so I'm gonna have to go back to Attorney Lindsay and see if he somehow changed that parcel code and put it in with these other two, but the numbers don't match up quite right. And we paid 66,000 originally, so it looked like it would be fine. But if it includes that other parcel too, then that's, you know, that's half the price that we're getting for it. So they may have some room at the DNR, some wiggle room in the appraisal negotiations process, but I think you should table this until we get better clarity from them, because I just got the agreement the other day. And reading it through and looking at it, there are a couple questions, so I'd like to pursue those questions before you make any motions relating
Yeah,
to
I
the
suggest we
purchase.
table it, because there's a lot of questions there, for sure, important ones too.
I can give you a little background on this. I was at the meeting when this was discussed, and like Mike says, we had to buy back, you know, that acreage from Wagner because he was gonna close the trail down. If you look on the top of that picture, you can see the tail cross.
Yep.
Okay, and then adjacent to that, we had a 40-acre parcel, and it just touched that parcel too. And if we sold it to someone else, the same thing could have happened. So we says, well, we'll sell it to the county so we won't have that any problem anymore. So there was another 40 that we owned adjacent right here that ended up to being grouped together with that 22 acres, and that's where I believe they assessed it at 82, because they added in that other 40.
There's absolutely no reason for Gilbert using it for any reason on the record right now?
At the time when we had this discussion, it was, looked like land that would have probably not ever been used. It was on a downward slope. It was probably unusable to anybody in the near future or the far future that we could tell.
That's
So we
what-
made the determination
Well,
in
that's-
order to stop this from happening again, that we would just sell that property to them.
That's that rock pit up there then?
Yeah, it's right next to that. So it's
Okay.
just pretty unusable property, so.
Okay,
So I think the one thing that I want to raise out here, and I know this, we're going to make sure that the numbers are right on here, but, so if we're looking at 80-some thousand, as the 82,800 as the value of 55.23 acres, my math is that works out to $1,499 per acre. So let's keep that in mind. We've got other things that we're doing with property that has got no utilities on it. If that's the price of what a raw acre is, we need to have that in our heads for when we're looking at other things. That's all I'm gonna say.
well, anyway, with some other important questions, you need to be clarified first before.
Sure,
Yeah.
I'll get the answers. We have time to work with this.
We could make that, what happened with the contingent on your questions being cleared up, or do it another time.
Let's go in a holding pattern, Mayor.
Okay, let's table it then. Motion to table till we get this.
And just another thing, that payback of the 66,000, that was to be in 3 years. We were gonna pay 22 a year, and I believe we already paid 22 already, didn't we, Mike? If I
I
remember
looked at the
right.
contract today, I saw we paid an initial $10,000 down payment.
Okay.
I don't know what's been paid beyond that, Bob.
Yeah, that was to get the
We're
title
not
changed and everything,
Yeah,
so.
we're not necessarily getting it all back.
Right, so we have 2 more installments to pay to square it up with Wagner.
Okay. Can I get somebody to make a motion to table this?
I will make that motion.
Moved by Counselor Skirvik to table, and do I hear a second?
I second.
Second by Counselor Horn to table new business item A, the DNR Ridge Properties appraisal and possible sale to get some issues cleared up and bring back to the council another meeting. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. Motion carries. B, Minnesota Power Transformer changeout, $54,000 up at Broadview Manor. Any more discussion or questions about that? I think it's all self-explanatory, and we need to be doing it, so.
I have pictures of the transformer where it's leaking.
Oh, it was actually leaking.
Yeah. there's
Yeah, it's
oil
been
on this
leaking for a
side,
couple of
and on
years.
that side.
Right here.
Great.
And unfortunately, when you make a change like this, you can't just change the transformer. You have to change everything, electrical feeds, bring everything up to code. It may require an additional wire, I don't know what, but that's part of the reason it's as expensive as it is. And we'll continue to face that as we upgrade the infrastructure. People are gonna need more electricity than they have in the past, particularly if solar, when people start charging cars and things like that, so
So it's gonna be a little juiced up a little bit better than the new one,
that's my understanding, Mayor.
okay?
Will the new one be on the ground or will it be elevated?
It'll be on the ground. We looked at going elevated. This was the most affordable solution.
So as far as the payment, I'm kind of curious, because I know we originally did it for the apartments, but do we have to do it the second time? And do we just have to bring it to the property line and then I don't know, is it on the property line or how far into the property is it? I think that might be
They usually keep it on the property line, but
yeah,
they've paid for access when they built the building to our infrastructure.
right.
I don't know if you get to charge them again, Bob, but it's
Well, I'm just saying
interesting question.
partial payment, maybe attorney can look into that, I don't know. If it-
Please do.
yeah,
What do you mean, HRA's got some involvement with this?
no, this
It's
is.
for their
the
building.
Kibbles. This is Kibbles Apartments.
My understanding
Yeah.
is we had responsibility up to the meter.
basically, for these types of projects, up to where that's where they take off.
Would be my understanding too, but it
It
doesn't
could
hurt.
be- I don't know, it
doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Needs to be done though.
because it's a big chunk of money, so.
Frankly, I'm surprised it's
Right.
not higher.
Okay, somebody make a motion there?
What would the motion be for?
Yeah,
To approve it?
50, to approve it for $54,000.
do we want to determine if we have to pay all the bill first before we approve it?
Sure, and I can also reach out to Minnesota Power. They may give you a period of time to pay for this
Yeah,
instead of doing it just cash-wise.
right, yeah.
Happy to do either one.
So we just table this until we find out more
I don't know if
information?
we can table it, it'll be done wrong, right?
Yeah.
But,
But
I mean-
Mike can work on that other part with Minnesota Power afterwards.
yeah, I don't know how long, I'm sure that's been leaking for a while. I don't know how urgent it is to, if we have another 2 weeks or, I don't know.
Well, I
But
mean, when,
if you
Can
guys
we
want-
authorize the
yeah.
work, but then speak with Minnesota Power and see if we can delay
Sure.
payment? Till we figure this out.
And we can work, we can work with our attorney to see if you can assess that to anybody. But I don't think that you'll be able to, but we can ask the question.
Yeah,
I would really hate to miss this, because obviously if there's damage and it needs to be replaced, it won't do well if we, if we wait until we hit July, the July and August months when they're heavy air conditioning use and heavy draw on those, so we've gotta get it done.
yeah, it's funny they didn't say something in the paper where it's urgent or whatever.
Well, let's get it done, and then Mike knows what our concerns are, and he'll get them fixed, cleared up.
Okay.
I make a motion to go forward with the project and, have Mike follow up to see if we can work out a delayed payment situation.
Yeah, and this comes out the electric fund.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motion by Counselor Skirvik to approve the Minnesota Power transformer changeout for $54,000 with the contingency that we have the city clerk authorized to work with Minnesota Power on how to pay back that $54,000. You got a second on that?
I'll second that.
Second by Counselor Horn. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Aye,
Aye.
opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Teresa Roseman fence application, we discussed that at the working session earlier. Council, I think we were all in approval on that, so any more talk on that, or just go ahead and approve that application?
I'll go ahead
Or
and motion.
permit to have the application?
I'll motion to approve the application.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Counselor Skirvik, supported by Counselor Vrtajnik to approve the permit application by Teresa Roseman on her fence. Any more further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries, Item number E. Carrie and Steve Schutte fence application. We discussed that at the regular, working session. If everybody's okay with this, can we make a motion on that?
I move to approve that fence.
I'll second.
Moved by Counselor Vrtajnik, supported by Counselor Skirvik to approve the Schutte fence permit application. Any more discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. F, approve Calgaro tree cutting quote for the cemetery at a cost of $1,900.
I move to approve that.
I'll second.
Moved by Counselor Vrtajnik, supported by Counselor Skirvik.
And then to clarify, they're approving the $700 falling of the tree and the $1,200
Stump grinding, not the full thing.
Yep.
Very good. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
I'll call Gil and tell him what he can do, what he can't do.
Okay, very good. And nothing else? All tied up? No loose ends? Motion to adjourn? In order?
I'll move to adjourn. Second.
Moved by Counselor Vrtajnik, supported by Counselor Skirvik to adjourn at 6:37. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Good night. We're adjourned.